The sun was just beginning to peek over the skyscrapers of New York City, casting a golden glow through the large windows of a cozy coffee shop nestled on a busy street corner. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of baked goods, creating an inviting atmosphere that drew people in from all walks of life. This wasn't just any ordinary cafe. It had a reputation for being warm and welcoming, a place where everyone felt like they belonged. And much of that charm came from its employees, especially Marcus Johnson. Marcus was a 28-year-old man with Down syndrome who had been working at the cafe for 3 years. Despite facing challenges most people couldn't imagine, he approached each day with unwavering enthusiasm. His smile lit up the room, and his positive energy was contagious. Whether it was remembering regulars' orders or offering kind words to someone having a tough morning, Marcus made sure every customer left feeling better than when they arrived. He took immense pride in his job, treating it not as a chore but as an opportunity to make a difference in others' lives. His co-workers adored him. They often joked that Marcus was the heart of the cafe, the glue that held everything together. When things got hectic during rush hour, his calming presence helped keep tensions low. If a new employee felt overwhelmed, Marcus would offer encouragement, reminding them that they were part of a team. Even customers noticed how special he was. Some came solely because of him, knowing they'd be greeted by his cheerful good morning and genuine interest in their day. On this particular morning, the cafe buzzed with activity. Businessmen in sharp suits hurriedly grabbed lattes before heading to meetings. Students huddled over laptops sipping cappuccinos, and tourists snapped photos of the vibrant murals painted on the walls. Among the crowd sat a man wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, blending seamlessly into the background. No one paid him much attention. He looked like any other patron enjoying a quiet moment amidst the chaos. But this wasn't just anyone. It was Vin Diesel, the Hollywood superstar known for his larger-than-life roles in blockbuster films. Vin loved visiting this cafe whenever he was in town. It reminded him of simpler times, far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Here he could sit unnoticed, observing the world go by while savoring his favorite drink. What drew him most to this place, though, was its inclusivity. Everyone, no matter their background, race, or ability, was treated with respect and kindness. Watching Marcus interact with customers always filled Vin with admiration. There was something profoundly inspiring about seeing someone so full of joy and determination, despite the obstacles life had thrown his way. As Vin sipped his latte, he noticed Marcus chatting animatedly with a group of elderly women at the counter. They laughed at something he said, clearly charmed by his warmth. Vin smiled to himself, thinking about how rare it was to find such authenticity in today's fast-paced world. Little did he know, the peaceful scene was about to be disrupted by an unexpected arrival, a man whose actions would test the very essence of what made this cafe so special. The door swung open, and a tall, well-dressed figure strode in, exuding an air of entitlement. His expensive suit and polished shoes screamed success, but his demeanor told a different story. Impatient and rude, he pushed past those waiting in line, demanding immediate service. As Marcus stepped forward to assist him, Vin couldn't shake the uneasy feeling settling in his chest. Something about this stranger didn't sit right, and as events unfolded, Vin realized he might have to step out of the shadows and into the role of an unexpected hero. The cafe's usual hum of conversation and clinking cups was abruptly interrupted by the sharp sound of the door swinging open. In walked a man who seemed to carry an aura of impatience with him. Tall, sharply dressed in an expensive navy blue suit, and wearing shoes so polished they reflected the overhead lights, Greg Thompson commanded attention, not the good kind. His face was set in a scowl, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for something, or someone to blame for whatever had clearly put him in a foul mood. Without hesitation, Greg cut through the line of waiting customers, ignoring the irritated glances and muttered complaints from those he shoved aside. He strode straight to the counter, where Marcus was busy preparing drinks. The young barista turned to greet him with his signature smile, ready to assist the next customer. But before Marcus could even say hello, Greg barked out his order in a tone that made several nearby patrons flinch. "I need a grande black coffee. No sugar, no cream. And I need it now," Greg snapped, tapping his fingers impatiently on the counter. Marcus nodded, doing his best to focus despite the sudden tension in the air. As he repeated the order back to confirm, his voice faltered slightly, a common trait due to his speech impediment. Instead of showing patience or understanding, Greg rolled his eyes dramatically. "Oh, come on," Greg groaned, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Can you even understand what I'm saying? Or do I need to speak slower for you?" A few gasps rippled through the cafe, but most people froze, unsure how to react. Marcus, however, kept his composure. He tried again, carefully, enunciating each word as he confirmed the drink size and type. But Greg wasn't satisfied. He leaned closer, sneering at Marcus with a look of disdain that made the young man's hands tremble. "You've got to be kidding me," Greg continued, raising his voice loud enough for everyone in the cafe to hear. "What is this place? Hiring these days? Someone like you shouldn't even be working here." His words hit like a punch, sharp and cruel. Marcus blinked rapidly, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment, but he didn't argue. Instead, he focused on punching the order into the register, hoping to finish quickly and move past the confrontation. Greg wasn't done yet. With a dismissive wave of his hand, he added, "And why are you wearing that uniform? It's embarrassing. You look ridiculous." His harsh critique drew more shocked reactions from the crowd, though still no one intervened. Some customers exchanged uncomfortable glances, while others stared down at their phones or pretended not to notice. Even the staff behind the counter hesitated, torn between defending Marcus and avoiding escalating the situation. As Marcus handed off the completed order slip to the barista handling the drinks, Greg crossed his arms and huffed loudly. "Finally," he muttered under his breath. But when his coffee was presented to him moments later, he barely glanced at it before declaring, "This isn't right. I said grande, not tall. Are you deaf?" It was a lie. Marcus had gotten the size exactly right, but Greg didn't care about accuracy. He was determined to make a scene, feeding off the discomfort of those around him. To add insult to injury, he pulled out his phone and began recording Marcus, laughing mockingly as he panned the camera over the young man's face. "Look at this guy," Greg said into the lens, his tone mocking. "They let anyone work here these days. Pathetic." The video felt like salt in an already painful wound. Marcus's eyes welled up with tears, but he bit his lip, refusing to let them fall. One of his co-workers stepped forward then, gently taking the cup from Greg's hand. "Let me fix it for you," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. She shot a sympathetic glance at Marcus, silently urging him to step back and take a moment to collect himself. Meanwhile, unnoticed by nearly everyone, Vin Diesel sat quietly in his corner, his jaw tightening. With every passing second, the playful banter and light-hearted chatter that usually filled the cafe had vanished, replaced by a suffocating tension. Something deep inside Vin stirred, an urge to act, to stand up against the injustice unfolding right in front of him. But for now he remained seated, watching intently as the drama played out. As the tension in the cafe reached its peak, Marcus stood frozen behind the counter, his heart pounding in his chest. His co-worker had taken over the situation, remaking Greg's drink as quickly as possible to diffuse the growing hostility. But Greg wasn't satisfied with just a corrected order. He seemed determined to drag the confrontation out longer, savoring the discomfort he was creating. With his phone still in hand, he resumed filming Marcus, zooming in on his face and making snide comments about how someone like him didn't belong in a professional environment. The words stung deeply, but Marcus did his best to hold himself together. He'd faced difficult moments before, people who underestimated him or treated him differently because of his condition. But this felt different. This wasn't just ignorance, it was cruelty disguised as superiority. Tears threatened to spill down his cheeks, but he blinked them back, focusing instead on the familiar rhythm of the cafe around him, the hiss of the espresso machine, the clink of cups being stacked, the murmur of hushed conversations from nearby tables. These sounds were a lifeline, grounding him in a space that usually brought him so much joy. Greg, however, showed no signs of stopping. He posted the video online with a mocking caption, laughing as he tapped away at his screen. The act felt deliberate, almost calculated, as if he wanted the world to see what he considered entertaining at someone else's expense. Some customers began whispering among themselves, their expressions a mix of anger and disbelief. A young woman seated near the counter shook her head, muttering under her breath, "What an awful person." Others nodded in agreement. But no, one stepped forward, not yet. It was then that Vin Diesel, still sitting quietly in his corner, decided he'd seen enough. For a moment he considered staying out of it. After all, he was here to enjoy some peace and quiet, not to insert himself into a public dispute. But as he watched Greg mock Marcus's appearance and ridicule his work ethic, something inside Vin shifted. He thought about his own brother, who had grown up with special needs, a sibling he loved fiercely and who had taught him invaluable lessons about patience, kindness, and resilience. Seeing Marcus endure such blatant disrespect struck a nerve. With a deep breath, Vin rose from his seat, his towering frame drawing immediate attention. People turned to look as he approached the counter, his presence commanding silence. Greg barely noticed at first, too absorbed in gloating over his social media post. When Vin finally spoke, his voice was calm but firm, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Excuse me," Vin said, addressing Greg directly. "Do you realize how disrespectful you're being right now?" Greg froze, caught off guard by the interruption. At first, he dismissed Vin as just another irritated customer, rolling his eyes and firing back with a sarcastic remark. "Mind your business, pal. This doesn't concern you." But Vin didn't back down. Stepping closer, he removed his sunglasses, revealing his unmistakable features. For a split second, Greg stared blankly, confused by the sudden familiarity. Then recognition dawned on his face and his smug expression faltered. "Wait, are you—" he stammered, trailing off as realization hit him. Vin crossed his arms, his piercing gaze locking onto Greg. "Yeah, I'm Vin Diesel, and I'm telling you that what you're doing is unacceptable. This young man works hard every single day and he deserves respect, not mockery." The room fell silent, save for a few audible gasps from astonished customers. Greg's face turned pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he realized the gravity of the situation. Here he was, being called out by one of Hollywood's biggest stars in front of dozens of witnesses, and potentially millions more once word got out. Panic flickered across his features as he fumbled for a response, stuttering and stumbling over his words. "You don't understand," Greg tried to argue weakly, though his confidence had completely evaporated. "I was just joking around." "That wasn't a joke," Vin interrupted, his tone sharp but controlled. "That was bullying, plain and simple." He glanced at Marcus, whose eyes widened in surprise and gratitude. Turning back to Greg, Vin added, "Apologize to him. Now." For a moment, Greg hesitated, clearly torn between defiance and self-preservation. But the weight of the crowd's collective disapproval and the looming threat of Vin's influence was too much to bear. Reluctantly, he muttered a half-hearted apology, avoiding eye contact with both Marcus and Vin. Without another word, he grabbed his coffee and hurried toward the exit, nearly tripping over his own feet in his haste to leave as the door slammed shut behind him. The cafe erupted into applause. Customers cheered for Vin's intervention, while others rushed to comfort Marcus, patting him on the shoulder and offering words of encouragement. Vin stayed close, ensuring Marcus was okay. And in that moment, the warmth and camaraderie that defined the cafe returned stronger than ever. Little did anyone know this incident would spark a chain reaction that would change lives, including Marcus's, forever. As the applause filled the cafe, Vin Diesel turned his full attention to Marcus, who was still standing behind the counter, visibly shaken but trying to compose himself. Vin's imposing figure softened as he leaned in closer, speaking gently to ensure Marcus felt safe and supported. "Hey, are you okay?" Vin asked, his deep voice carrying a tone of genuine concern that immediately put Marcus at ease. Marcus nodded slowly, though his hands were still trembling slightly. Yes. Thank you, he stammered, his gratitude evident despite his struggle to find the right words. Vin gave him a reassuring smile, placing a hand on the counter to steady himself as he continued. You didn't deserve any of that. What he did was wrong, on so many levels. Don't let it make you doubt yourself, all right? You're amazing at what you do. The sincerity in Vin's words struck a chord not only with Marcus but also with everyone watching. Customers exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement while others wiped away tears they hadn't realized had formed. One elderly woman whispered to her companion, "That man is a hero, not just because he's famous but because he stood up for what's right." Vin then addressed the crowd, raising his voice just enough to be heard over the lingering murmurs. "I want all of you to know something," he began, his commanding presence drawing complete silence. "People like Marcus remind us of what truly matters: kindness, hard work, and resilience. He shows up every day, gives his best, and makes this place better just by being here. That deserves respect, not ridicule." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "I grew up with a brother who had special needs, and I've seen firsthand how society can sometimes treat people unfairly. It's not easy, but my brother taught me strength isn't about power or dominance, it's about empathy. It's about lifting others up when they're knocked down." His voice cracked slightly as he spoke, revealing a vulnerability that resonated deeply with everyone present. By now, several customers had pulled out their phones, capturing snippets of Vin's speech. Someone recorded the entire exchange, realizing this moment needed to be shared with the world. The video quickly gained traction online, with hashtags like "When Stand With Marcus" trending within hours. Social media users praised Vin for using his platform to advocate for someone who couldn't defend himself against such blatant disrespect. Back at the cafe, Vin knelt slightly to meet Marcus at eye level, ensuring he had his full attention. "Listen, Marcus," he said earnestly. "What happened today wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. In fact, you handled it with more grace than most people would have. That takes real courage." Marcus swallowed hard, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Thank you, Mr. Diesel," he managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. I try my best." "And you succeed," Vin interrupted firmly, emphasizing each word. "You succeed every single day. Never forget that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, scribbling something on the back before handing it to Marcus. "If you ever need anything at all, you call me, understand?" Marcus took the card with trembling hands, staring at it as if it were a treasure. On the back, Vin had written his personal phone number along, with a brief note, "For Marcus, keep shining. You inspire us all." At that moment, the cafe erupted into another round of applause, this time even louder than before. People lined up to shake Marcus's hand, offering hugs and kind words. A young mother approached with her son, explaining how Marcus's story reminded her child to always treat others with kindness. Another customer handed Marcus a bouquet of flowers she'd bought earlier, saying, "These are for you. They're not nearly as bright as your spirit, but I hope they bring you a little extra joy today." Vin stayed for a while longer, chatting with Marcus and learning more about his life. He discovered that Marcus dreamed of becoming a chef someday, but worried it might be too difficult given the challenges he faced. Inspired by his determination, Vin made a mental note to help turn that dream into reality. But for now, he simply encouraged Marcus to keep pursuing his passions, reminding him that nothing was impossible with hard work and support. As the morning wore on, the cafe transformed into a hub of positivity. Strangers introduced The impact of Vin Diesel's intervention didn't stop at the cafe doors. As word spread about what had happened, the story began to take on a life of its own. The video of Vin standing up for Marcus went viral within hours, shared across social media platforms and picked up by news outlets around the world. People were captivated not just by the dramatic confrontation, but also by the heartfelt message Vin delivered, a reminder of the importance of kindness, empathy, and standing up for those who may not always have a voice. For Marcus, the sudden attention was overwhelming. At first, he felt uneasy seeing himself in videos replayed online or hearing his name mentioned in interviews. But as messages of support poured in from strangers, some sharing their own stories of overcoming adversity, others simply thanking him for inspiring them, he began to see the bigger picture. His courage that morning wasn't just about enduring cruelty. It was about showing the world the strength and dignity that come with resilience. Vin stayed true to his promise to help Marcus pursue his dream of becoming a chef. A few days after the incident, Vin arranged a meeting with Marcus and the owner of the cafe to discuss ways they could support him further. During the conversation, Vin revealed that he wanted to sponsor Marcus's education at a local culinary school. "You've got talent, Marcus," Vin said warmly, leaning forward in his chair. "I can tell you love food and I know you'd make an incredible chef. Let me help you get there." Marcus's eyes widened in disbelief. Really?" he asked, his voice trembling with emotion. "You'd do that? For me?" "Absolutely," Vin replied without hesitation. "You deserve every opportunity to chase your dreams. And besides, I think the world needs more chefs like you. People who cook with heart." Touched beyond words, Marcus nodded vigorously, tears streaming down his face. The cafe owner chimed in, promising to keep Marcus on staff part-time so he could continue working while attending classes. Other co-workers offered to help him practice recipes during slow hours, turning the kitchen into a makeshift training ground. It was clear that Marcus wasn't just gaining a mentor in Vin, he was gaining an entire community invested in his success. Meanwhile, Greg Thompson, the man who had mocked Marcus, found himself facing intense backlash online. Once people identified him through the viral video, his social media accounts were flooded with criticism. Many called him out for his behavior, demanding accountability, and urging him to reflect on the harm he had caused. Some even contacted his employer, leading to an internal investigation at his company. While Greg initially tried to defend himself, claiming he was just joking, the weight of public opinion eventually forced him to issue a public apology. In the statement, Greg admitted his actions were wrong and expressed regret for humiliating Marcus. He acknowledged that his words and behavior were hurtful and promised to educate himself on how to treat others with respect and compassion. Though some dismissed his apology as insincere, others saw it as a step toward growth, an acknowledgement that change is possible even for those who start off on the wrong foot. Back at the cafe, Marcus became a symbol of hope and perseverance. Customers came from all over the city to meet him, often leaving notes of encouragement taped to the counter or slipping small gifts into his tip jar. One day, a group of students from a nearby university stopped by, presenting Marcus with a handmade banner that read, "Marcus, you're our hero." They explained that they had organized a fundraiser to cover additional expenses for his schooling, ensuring he wouldn't have to worry about textbooks or supplies. Inspired by the outpouring of support, Marcus decided to use his newfound platform to advocate for others with disabilities. With Vin's guidance, he began participating in local events aimed at promoting inclusivity in the workplace. He spoke candidly about his experiences, encouraging employers to create environments where everyone felt valued and respected. His speeches, though brief, carried profound wisdom, reminders that every person has something unique to contribute if given the chance. As weeks turned into months, Marcus thrived under the spotlight, not because he sought fame, but because he understood the power of representation. By sharing his journey, he inspired countless individuals to embrace their own challenges and pursue their passions fearlessly. And through it all, Vin remained a constant presence in Marcus's life, cheering him on from afar and occasionally stopping by the cafe to check in. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and bathed the cafe in golden light, Marcus stood behind the counter preparing a latte for a customer. For a moment he paused, looking around at the bustling room filled with laughter and chatter. He thought about how far he'd come since that fateful morning, and how one act of kindness from a stranger had changed everything. Smiling to himself, he returned to work, knowing that his story was proof that even in the darkest moments, light could shine through. Months passed, and Marcus's life transformed in ways he could never have imagined. With Vin Diesel's support, he enrolled in a prestigious culinary school known for its hands-on training and focus on creativity. At first, Marcus was nervous about stepping into such a competitive environment. Would his classmates accept him? Could he keep up with the rigorous coursework? But from day one, he proved to everyone, including himself, that determination and passion could overcome any obstacle. The instructors quickly recognized Marcus's natural talent. While some students struggled to master basic knife skills or balance flavors, Marcus approached each task with patience and precision. His desserts in particular stood out. Whether it was a rich chocolate cake infused with hints of cinnamon or delicate macarons that melted in your mouth, his creations carried a warmth and authenticity that resonated with anyone who tasted them. Marcus cooks with his heart, one instructor remarked during a class critique. And that's something you can't teach. Outside of school, Marcus continued working part-time at the cafe, where he remained a beloved figure. Regular customers often asked how his studies were going, and many proudly sampled his latest experiments: mini cheesecakes topped with fresh berries or caramel-filled choux pastries. The cafe even hosted a special Taste of Marcus event. One weekend, allowing patrons to try an array of his homemade treats while learning more about his journey. The turnout was overwhelming, with lines stretching out the door and donations pouring in to support his education. Vin stayed involved every step of the way, attending Marcus's cooking demonstrations and offering advice when needed. He introduced Marcus to renowned chefs in the industry, opening doors that might otherwise have remained closed. One evening, after a particularly grueling exam week, Vin surprised Marcus by taking him to dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant. As they sat together savoring dishes crafted by world-class chefs, Vin leaned in and said, "You're going to be sitting on this side of the table someday, Marcus. I know it." Marcus blushed at the compliment but nodded confidently. "I'll work hard," he promised. "I won't give up." Word of Marcus's progress spread beyond the local community, capturing national attention. A popular morning talk show invited him to appear as a guest, showcasing his story and giving him the opportunity to demonstrate his baking skills live on air. Nervous yet excited, Marcus prepared dozens of cupcakes decorated with colorful swirls of frosting. When the host asked him what inspired him to pursue cooking, Marcus smiled and replied, "Food brings people together. It makes them happy. And I want to share that happiness with everyone." The segment aired to millions of viewers, further cementing Marcus's status as an advocate for inclusivity and perseverance. Schools and organizations began reaching out, asking him to speak at events focused on disability awareness and workplace diversity. Though public speaking didn't come naturally to him, Marcus embraced the challenge, knowing his words could inspire others to dream bigger and push harder. Back home, the cafe became a symbol of hope and unity thanks to Marcus's influence. Customers brought friends and family to meet him, eager to introduce them to the man whose resilience had touched so many lives. Employees hung photos of Marcus on the walls alongside quotes about kindness and courage. Even Greg Thompson, the man who had once mocked Marcus, reached out privately to apologize again, this time in person. Though their meeting was brief, Marcus accepted his apology graciously, choosing forgiveness over bitterness. As graduation approached, anticipation built among Marcus's supporters. The cafe planned a celebration to honor his achievement, complete with balloons, banners, and a buffet featuring Marcus's signature desserts. On the big day, the room buzzed with excitement as friends, family, co-workers, and strangers gathered to cheer him on. When Marcus walked in wearing his chef's hat and holding his diploma, the crowd erupted into applause, chanting his name. During the ceremony, Marcus delivered a short speech, his voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in his chest. "I want to thank everyone who believed in me," he began, scanning the faces of those who had supported him along the way. "Especially Mr. Vin Diesel, who showed me that kindness matters more than anything else. Il a P." After graduation, Marcus stepped into a new chapter of his life with confidence and purpose. Armed with his diploma and a growing reputation as an inspiring figure, he landed an internship at one of New York City's most innovative bakeries, a place known for its artistic approach to desserts and commitment to hiring diverse talent. The bakery's owner had seen Marcus on the talk show and immediately reached out, eager to bring someone with his creativity and determination onto the team. At first, Marcus was intimidated by the fast-paced environment. The kitchen buzzed with energy, with chefs shouting orders, timers beeping, and mixers whirring non-stop. But Marcus quickly adapted, bringing his signature warmth and focus to every task. His co-workers admired how he approached even the simplest jobs, like kneading dough or piping frosting, with care and precision. It wasn't long before they began turning to him for ideas, realizing that his unique perspective often led to unexpected bursts of brilliance. One day, while experimenting with flavors for a seasonal menu, Marcus suggested incorporating unexpected ingredients like lavender and citrus zest into their classic sugar cookies. Skeptical at first, the head chef decided to give it a try, and the result was a hit. Customers raved about the delicate balance of floral and tangy notes, prompting the bakery to name the creation Marcus's Lavender Delight. From then on, Marcus earned a reputation not just as a hard worker, but as a true innovator in the kitchen. As his skills grew, so did his influence outside the bakery. Inspired by Vin Diesel's example, Marcus continued advocating for inclusivity in the workplace. He partnered with local organizations to host workshops aimed at teaching job readiness skills to individuals with disabilities. These events were lively and interactive, filled with laughter and encouragement as participants learned everything from interview techniques to basic cooking methods. Marcus often ended each session by sharing his own story, reminding attendees that their differences were strengths, not weaknesses. Meanwhile, the viral video of Vin standing up for Marcus remained a powerful symbol of allyship and justice. Educators used it in classrooms to spark discussions about empathy and respect, while businesses referenced it in training sessions to emphasize the importance of creating supportive environments. Even celebrities joined the conversation, praising Vin for using his platform to uplift others. The ripple effect of that single act of kindness continued to spread, touching lives far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. Greg Thompson, the man who had mocked Marcus months earlier, quietly underwent a personal transformation. After facing public backlash and reflecting on his actions, he enrolled in sensitivity training courses and volunteered with groups dedicated to supporting people with disabilities. Though he never sought forgiveness publicly again, those close to him noticed a change in his behavior. He became more patient, more willing to listen, and less quick to judge. In time, he found ways to contribute positively, proving that growth is possible even after making mistakes. Back at the cafe where it all began, Marcus's legacy lived on. The staff created a scholarship fund in his name, offering financial assistance to other employees pursuing education or career development opportunities. Posters featuring Marcus's smiling face hung near the register, accompanied by the quote, "Kindness starts here." Regular customers often brought friends to hear Marcus's story, ensuring that the cafe remained a beacon of hope and inspiration. For Marcus, success wasn't measured by fame or accolades. It was about connection. Every dessert he made carried a piece of his heart, meant to bring joy to whoever tasted it. And every person he met left feeling valued, knowing they mattered simply because they existed. Whether it was mentoring young chefs, speaking at community events, or crafting intricate pastries late into the night, Marcus poured himself fully into everything he did. By this point, Vin Diesel had become more than just a mentor. He was family. The two stayed in touch regularly, bonding over shared meals and deep conversations about life, dreams, and the power of resilience. During one visit to the bakery, Vin watched proudly as Marcus expertly plated a towering cake adorned with edible flowers. "You're living proof," Vin said with a grin, "that the smallest acts of courage can lead to the biggest victories." Marcus smiled back, his eyes shining with gratitude. He knew none of this would have been possible without the support of those around him, or without the belief that everyone deserves a chance to shine. As he looked around the bustling kitchen, surrounded by teammates who cheered him on and customers who adored his creations, Marcus felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was only the beginning, and he couldn't wait to see what came next. A year after Marcus graduated, his journey came full circle in ways no one could have predicted. What started as a single act of kindness from Vin Diesel had blossomed into a movement that inspired countless lives, including Marcus's own. The bakery where he worked became one of the city's most beloved spots, not just for its mouth-watering desserts, but for the story behind them. Customers lined up daily to meet Marcus, eager to taste the treats crafted by the man who had turned adversity into triumph. Marcus's rise didn't stop there. Encouraged by Vin and his growing fan base, he decided to take his passion to the next level, opening his own dessert shop. With Vin's financial backing and guidance, Marcus transformed an old storefront into a cozy haven called Sweet Resilience. The name reflected not only his personal journey but also the message he wanted to share with the world. That sweetness could be found even in life's toughest moments. The grand opening of Sweet Resilience was nothing short of magical. Hundreds of people gathered outside, spilling onto the sidewalk as local news crews captured the event. Balloons swayed gently in the breeze and a live band played upbeat tunes while children giggled over free samples of Marcus's signature lavender cookies. Inside, the walls were adorned with vibrant murals depicting Marcus's story, his days at the cafe, his time in culinary school, and his unwavering determination to follow his dreams. At the heart of the celebration stood Marcus himself, wearing his signature chef's hat and a bright smile that lit up the room. As he cut the ribbon to officially open the shop, cheers erupted from the crowd. Friends, family, co-workers, and strangers alike joined together in applauding the man who had become a symbol of hope and resilience. Even Vin made a surprise appearance, stepping onto the stage to say a few words. "Marcus isn't just a great baker," Vin began, his voice booming yet warm. "He's a reminder that we all have the power to make the world better, whether it's through our actions, our talents, or simply how we treat others. He's shown us that kindness is contagious and courage can change lives, including your own." When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he took a deep breath, gripping the microphone tightly. "I never thought I'd be here today," he admitted, his voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in his chest. "But because of so many amazing people, Mr. Vin Diesel, my teachers, my friends, and all of you, I'm living my dream. This bakery isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who believes in second chances and standing up for what's right." The impact of Sweet Resilience extended far beyond its delicious offerings. Marcus implemented a unique hiring policy, prioritizing opportunities for individuals with disabilities or those facing barriers to employment. He partnered with local nonprofits to provide job training programs and hosted monthly community events aimed at fostering inclusivity and understanding. The bakery quickly became more than a business. It was a safe space where everyone felt welcome. Meanwhile, Marcus continued using his platform to advocate for greater representation in workplaces everywhere. His story reached global audiences when he was invited to speak at international conferences about disability rights and workplace diversity. Each speech reinforced the same core message: every person has value, and every voice deserves to be heard. Audiences left inspired, vowing to create environments where kindness and respect reigned supreme. Back home, Marcus maintained close ties with the cafe where it all began. Employees often visited Sweet Resilience, bringing updates on new initiatives they'd launched in his honor. Together, they created a network of support that strengthened both businesses and their shared mission to uplift marginalized communities. As months passed, Marcus realized something profound. The true measure of success wasn't fame or fortune. It was connection. Every customer who walked through the door brought a story, and every dessert he served carried a piece of his heart. Whether it was a child marveling at the colorful cupcake display or an elderly couple reminiscing about baking, traditions, Marcus cherished these moments. They reminded him why he started this journey in the first place: to spread joy, one sweet treat at a time. One evening, as the sun set and bathed the bakery in golden light, Marcus stepped outside to admire the bustling street. Families strolled, by laughter echoed through the air, and the scent of freshly baked goods mingled with the cool night breeze. For a moment he paused, reflecting on how far he'd come, from being mocked in a crowded cafe to stand-in.